Ohlange, this is the birthplace and the final resting place of Dr. John Langalibalele Dube, who was the first president of the ANC. Earlier on, I did mention that there was a school which Dr. Dube founded in 1900, and the school began in 1901. And throughout the years, it's seen thousands of pupils coming through to the school, including a long list of alumni, and one of those, in fact, is a former president of the ANC, Inkosi Albert Luthuli. There are many others, but also another name that comes to mind is the former deputy president, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, to name but a few. The school in itself has a rich history of its own, coupled, of course, with the actual building where Tata cast his vote on the 27th of April 1994. So it makes this area one of huge historical importance, not only for our province of KwaZulu-Natal, but also for South Africa. And as I said earlier, of course, the story of Tata's journey to freedom cannot be told without mention of this area. And now I am joined with the grandson of Dr. Dube, Langa Dube. Langa, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Just firstly, do you have any memories of the former president with your family?
Yes, thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, one does have very fond memories of our late president, Tata Madiba. In fact, we met on several occasions, but the one that touched most of our hearts, especially on behalf of the family, was when he decided to disband and also just to consider having to come right to the birthplace of the African National Congress, the organization that actually made him to suffer, and also which actually made him having been incarcerated on Robben Island, but also bearing in mind that in any action that he had to think of, he had to think of the forebearers of the organization that he actually led himself, which is right here at the Ohlange Institute.
And Langa, just how did it make the family feel when they were made aware that he was coming to vote here? And the significance, of course, as we said, the fact that he came, and before he even cast his vote, he came here to pay tribute to your grandfather.
Yeah, maybe it's important for one to indicate this for the benefit of the entire South Africans, that particular day, the 27th of April in 1994, it was such a moving experience, not only for the Dube family, but for the entire community of Inanda and the province of KwaZulu-Natal, to learn that Tata Madiba has decided to come over at Ohlange. And a lot of people did not actually connect as to the reason why he had to do so. But with time, it actually dawned to everyone to say he had to make those spiritual connections with the forebearers and the founding fathers of the organization that he led for and that he struggled for, which is the African National Congress. Indeed, on that day, it was such a moving experience. And fortunate enough, I was there that morning when there was this huge contingent of journalists that actually descended right into this dark area of Inanda, because in most places, even across the rivers and the valleys of South Africa, people know Inanda as one of the dark areas, because during the apartheid era there was no light, there were no housing, no proper infrastructure. But at that moment that we realized the birth of a new era, the democratization of our country, seeing Nelson Mandela to come and paying tribute to the founding fathers, to come and report formally to say South Africa is going to be a different country altogether.
And, of course, for you having been born and raised here in Inanda, one of those townships that one would say was not known of, I'm sure that day really put Inanda in the spotlight. And as we see around, it's changed drastically, probably since those days, in terms of infrastructure as well around this area.
Definitely so. That day, in fact, that period of elections, indeed brought about a lot of changes, because Inanda was actually not known. But by virtue of Madiba having decided to come and cast his vote here, it actually put the entire Inanda area into the world map. And then we saw all the progressive forces gathering the momentum of saying there must be some change, for the local people. And indeed, we have seen that happening, taking shape in terms of infrastructural development. We've seen some schools being built. And also Madiba, he did not just end on that day, but he also, a year that followed, he came back and then he paid a visit to one of the educational institutions which is not far from here, which is called the Inanda Seminary for Girls School. That's where we saw Madiba being accompanied by other, philanthropists and the funders who actually made sure that there is development so that Inanda Seminary, that school, get restored. Same goes, he went further down right here at Ohlange, and then he was accompanied by a delegation from IBM company, an IT company, and then the directors of IBM. They saw a need, having paid a visit in the local classrooms of Ohlange Institute. They then automatically pledged some donations of the computer laboratory, which still stands today and is of benefit to the local learners.
I just want to quickly speak about your grandfather, having founded the school, the first president of the ANC. He himself left a legacy, which the likes of former President Nelson Mandela, I'm sure, followed through. Did the president ever say anything to you about your grandfather when you met?
Yes, indeed. With Madiba, he was such an amazing man. Especially when he just stood and then welcomed the family. You could feel something that was actually going right into your veins. And then he was very much appreciative, and then he did give us hope, because a lot of us were between hope and despair at that time, because we did not know, after having experienced a lot of people getting maimed, and with this spate of violence having taken shape into our region. But after his visit, after the 1994 elections, there was this sudden lull, and there was this full cooperation and understanding, and the spirit of reconciliation, took shape. And indeed, it went on and on up until now, and of which today we are going to remember, our fallen hero, Madiba, and may his soul rest in peace.
Just very quickly, Lang, I know that before we came to the broadcast, we spoke about you informing me that there's going to be quite a number of events that are going to be taking place here at the Ohlange Institute. If you can just quickly tell us what is going to be happening over the next couple of days.
Thanks for that. Indeed, for instance, tomorrow there's going to be a visit of all the former presidents' families that have decided to come and pay tribute, to our fallen hero. They will indeed be paying a visit at the chapel where there's Madiba statue stands, where they are going to be laying some fresh flowers and also conducting a brief prayer. But indeed also we are quite fortunate to have partnered with the Inanda Community Tourism Bureau, one of the tourism development body situated within the Inanda, Ntuzum and Guamashu area, in partnership with eThekwini municipality through the Durban Tourism Wing, in that they've seen this dire need to find a way of commemorating Madiba. And indeed there's going to be a series of events that are going to be taking place. For instance, on the 12th we are going to see a huge contingent of the community people with other relevant stakeholders converging right here at Inanda to come and pay their last respect and paying tribute to our fallen hero.
Langa, thank you very much. Well, that was Langa Dube, the grandson of the first president of the ANC, Dr. John Langalibalele Dube, another great man whom former President Nelson Mandela respected dearly. And as he said, a lot of activities that are going to be taking place here at the Ohlange Institute. In fact, since the morning since we've been here this morning, a lot of people, tourists, have already been coming through, and that has really been the case, Leanne, since the news of Tata's passing. This is one of the places where a lot of people, of course, have been flocking and really following the path and the footsteps of Tata on that day on April 27, 1994. That's all we have for you at the moment here at the Ohlange Institute. It's back to you in the studio.